Hey guys, I'm Mezzy, and welcome to the guide for the Fallen Protectors, the second encounter in the Siege of Orgrimmar raid. The Protectors consist of Rook Stonetoe, a monk, He Softfoot, a rogue, and Sun Tenderheart, a shadow priest. The first thing to keep in mind is that all three of them need to die at the same time. If you cannot kill them within 15 seconds of the first death, the first Protector will gain 20% of their health back. The main mechanic you have to worry about is called Desperate Measures. Each Protector at 66% and 33% of their health will cast this, and it always summons at least one ad which needs to be killed. While the Protector is using Desperate Measures, they will not be in combat, so let's go over the Protector's measures first. When Rook casts Desperate Measures, he will summon 3 ads: Embodied Misery, Embodied Sorrow, and Embodied Gloom. Embodied Sorrow is the first one you have to focus down, because it will cast Inferno Strike on a random raider, which does 1.2 million damage, but it can be spread with anyone within 8 yards of that person. So stack on the person that it's being cast on. Once Sorrow is defeated, however, be sure to spread out again, as there are other mechanics in this fight that need spreading. After Sorrow is dead, focus on Gloom. It does an interruptible spell that deals 150k damage to anyone within 4 yards of the Corruption Shock targeted area. The last and kind of least is Misery. This one does damage on the tank and knocks them back. All 3 of these should be tanked by the tank that was tanking Rook. When Softfoot casts Desperate Measures, he summons one ad called Embodied Anguish. This will target one person, giving them a debuff called Mark of Anguish, and this will root them into place, and it will cause Embodied Anguish to focus on that person. The debuff, however, can be passed on to others, and we found that passing it on to the tank that was tanking Softfoot was the easiest solution. When Sun casts Desperate Measures, she starts channeling an AoE called Dark Meditation. You can reduce this damage by standing inside her meditative field in the middle. During this phase, 2 types of ads will spawn. First off are 2 ads outside the field called Embodied Despair and Embodied Desperation. These need to be killed by the ranged DPS, while at the same time the melee need to take care of the Desperation spawn, which will spawn inside the bubble. During this phase, the other 2 Protectors still use their abilities, so these will need to be dodged. It might seem like a lot, especially since we haven't discussed any of the normal abilities yet, but it's actually quite easy, as there are only a few things to deal with per Desperate Measures phase. So on to their normal abilities. First, however, it should be noted that Rook needs to be tanked by one tank, while Softfoot needs to be tanked by the other. The Rook tank should also try and get Sun, who doesn't need tanking, near Rook so that she's still hit by cleave damage. The first ability Rook does is called Vengeful Strikes. This stuns the tank and does a cone-like ability, so that the tank will need to face Rook away from the rest of the raid, and it should also be noted that he can still do this during Sun's Desperate Measures phase, so when you're in the field, be sure not to stand in front of Rook. His second ability is Corrupted Brew, which he throws at a random person, which can and should be dodged. His last and final ability is Clash, which works the same way as a monk's clash. However, there's one difference. After he targets someone and they fly towards each other, he will perform Corruption Kick. This is an AoE that you need to move away from. For Softfoot the Rogue, the tank has to keep a few things in mind. First being Gouge. This incapacitates the tank for 6 seconds. This can be prevented, however, by having your back turned to Softfoot when he casts it. Being a rogue, he has 2 types of poisons he will alternate on. The first being Instant Poison, which is straightforward and it just gives him an extra damage on his melee attacks. However, he also has Noxious Poison, which will spawn poison zones on the ground, so the tank will have to move him out of these. We had our tank stay away from the rest of the group, so that these void zones wouldn't interfere with the rest of the encounter. The last ability he does is something the healers need to be worried about, and that's the Dot Garret. This cannot be removed, and it will deal 80k damage every 2 seconds. This is cast on random raiders, and it will only be removed when Softfoot goes into his Desperate Measures phase. Lastly, Sun is pretty much exactly a Shadow Priest. She does Chasseur, which targets a player, causing anyone within 5 yards of that player to take damage. She has a dot called Shadow Word Bane that needs to be dispelled right away, as it spreads up to 3 times and it does 100k damage every 3 seconds. Lastly, she has a spell called Calamity. This deals 30% of every player's maximum health to them. It also removes Shadow Word Bane from anyone that still has it. As a few reminders, stay spread and only stack for Inferno Strike in Rook's Desperate Measures phase. Kill Sorrow first, then Gloom and then Misery. The protectors have to die within 10 to 15 seconds of each other, and be sure not to activate multiple Desperate Measures at the same time. If you liked this guide, please comment and subscribe. If you want to watch the entire fight, feel free to watch the rest of this video. For now, I'm Mezzy, and I'll see you again next time.